Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate?
Yes!
Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with podcast number 161. Today we have a scenario question, and I'm going to try my best to answer it. However, before I do, there's a couple things I want to mention. One is don't stop marketing. Between now and January, remember that although it could be a slow month from a call volume perspective, the call quality is pretty great. And then we also want to make sure that we continue to market so we prime January with our touches in December. And just to prove the point a little bit, it is, I think, the 2nd of December, and we're still writing contracts. And so we're getting contracts in, we're sending contracts out, and if we're doing it, you can too. So remember to continue marketing, continue to do the deals. Don't take life off unless you have planned it. So if it's on your goals to take December off, absolutely take December off, but make sure that you have a system in place to continue your business, to be in business, because if you don't, then you just have a JOB and you're self-employed. Second thing is the Academy's open. Remember to get into it if you want to learn real estate investing the way that we do it. If you find benefit from us helping you, send us an email to support@bsffacademy.com and we'll contact you and fall forward, or you can log onto or go onto the website buysellfixflip.com, click on the coaching tab, and it'll take you to a sign up page. Give us your information. You and I will have a conversation, make sure that we're a fit, because we certainly do not want to spend a year together if we're not a fit. And we'll fall forward. One last thing, I forget to mention this all the time. We have a list of properties that we're selling at a wholesale value. I know I'm saying it, although I say yuck to wholesaling. I can't buy them all. And some of you are taking advantages of it. And thank you for doing that. And I know it's going to work out for you because I know what you're paying for the properties that we're selling to you. And remember, if you want to see that list, you're going to go to 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH/property-list. So 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH /property-list. And you'll be able to see the list there and see if there's any properties in your area that you want to grab. And they're pretty good discounts. And we do what we do. And if we can help you out, that's great. If you can help us out, that's great too. It's a marriage made in heaven. So here we go. Scenario question number 1. I have a property under contract and I have a few questions. The property is tenant occupied, no lease in place, and the tenant has stopped paying rent. Ouch. Because they called the county code enforcement unit, and there is a laundry list of things that need to that do not meet code. The current owner is due in court December 16th. How will this affect my contract? What do I need to look out for? How do I evict the tenant, especially if there isn't a lease in place? I know you mentioned something about a third-party company that you use for evictions. Well, let's go backwards. Once you have it under contract, if your contract calls for it to be occupied and you're going to take possession of it occupied by the tenant that's not performing, whether or not you have a lease or not, your eviction company will be able to process the eviction of that and kick them out. Remember that you'll want to figure in an amount that you're going to have to pay to them that you're going to subtract from the as-is value for the cost of the eviction and the holding cost. So, and let's look at the cost of eviction. You've heard me say before that figure about $750 filing fee for your paralegal or your attorney service that you use. You're going to figure probably 2 months at the very minimum of holding costs. So whatever your capital is costing you, your outlay of investment, either a sub-2 monthly payment, your cost of your money because you took it out of your bank account, or the cost of the money because you borrowed it. So you want to make sure you can figure at least 2 months. And then if you actually have to go to court, like these people are going to go to court and appear, that your attorney is going to charge you probably another $600 or $700. So figure another $750. And be done with it. I mean, one of the things and one of the values that we give a seller is we'll take care of their problems. We solve problems, and that's what we do. This is just a problem that we have to solve for the seller. They're unwilling or they're incapable of solving it for themselves. And a lot of times these problems are caused by emotion. And we're not emotional, or we don't have an emotional contact with this transaction So we can take care of it. It's okay. I've kicked out sons because they were abusing their mom. Mom sold the house. Son didn't know it, and I showed up, and he didn't live there anymore. So you just have to do what you have to do and understand that that's our job. And we get paid handsomely for it, and fall forward. Now, getting back to what do you do as far as this court date? I would go sit in on the court date. So as a interested bystander, because you are interested, you want to know what the judge says. And based upon what the judge says, I may or may not kick the deal. So if the tenant can prove to the judge that there, in fact, is a long-term lease agreement in place, then you may decide that you don't want to buy this property. So you'll want to go there and sit in and see what's happening at the court date. Besides that, it'll be a good experience. You'll be able to meet the eviction company that the seller's probably using. If not, there's going to be other eviction companies there, because when you go to court, it's like-minded court cases. So there will be other folks there. There will be eviction issues. There'll be unlawful detainer issues. And, spend some time in the hallways between the court session and introduce yourself. Find those folks that do what you need to have done in the future and make some relationships and put them on your center of influence. So I would absolutely go to court. And again, as a person who has interest, but as just a bystander. Now, if the judge awards a money value to the occupant, the tenant, but then the tenant agrees to leave, and that money judgment award is going against the person who owns the property, remember that could become, even though it's debt personally, it could attach to the real property. So if you find out while you're sitting there that the judge awarded a nuisance fine to the occupant to be paid by the landlord of $3,000 or whatever the number is, I would pencil that down, and I would make sure that my closing company knew that, because if you don't disclose something that you know, then it's fraudulent and you won't have title insurance to protect you. I would disclose that to my closing company and make sure that they did what they needed to do so that I have a title policy that can be honored by the issuing insurance company. Again, if you withhold information and subsequently want to make a claim against that information that you withheld, that's fraudulent, and you won't be able to get that claim. Sorry for my phone going off in the background, guys. So go find out this information. Now, let's go look at the contract. If you're using my agreement, if you're part of the academy using my agreement, then there is some boxes that you'll have checked on the agreement. One of those boxes says I want it vacant, I want it occupied, I want to have exclusive rights to occupy it, and irrevocable rights, by the way, to occupy it now, the date of the signing of the agreement. There are several choices that you'll choose from. I always like to get exclusive irrevocable occupancy at the signing of the agreement, because I never know when I'm going to need that. And especially in the case of a short sale, I absolutely want that. And especially in the case of a vacant or abandoned piece of property, I want that. That gives me the right to say that I'm the occupant and go in there and do things to the house to secure my interest that I'm going to have in the future. If you say it can be occupied, then there are notices that you'll want and occupied by the tenant. There are notices, and we call them estoppel notices. So estoppel, ES, that you'll want to send the tenant and have the tenant fill out on their behalf for you. And what that estoppel notice is going to tell you from the tenant's perspective is what they have paid to the seller from a deposit perspective. Are any of the appliances or the window coverings theirs? So when you buy the house and you think that you're buying it with a refrigerator and a stove and a dishwasher, maybe those were tenant purchased items, not part of their agreement with the seller. And when they move out, you can't claim those deficiencies against the occupant and against their deposit. And the deposit's another thing. They're going to tell you what amount of deposit they have on hand. So the estoppel notice is great. We can't just take the homeowner's perspective, because the homeowner's one party, the tenant is another party. And I don't know if you've ever been lied to by a homeowner before, but every once in a great while it does happen. Someone maybe doesn't intentionally lie to us, but they inadvertently don't tell us everything, or on purpose don't tell us everything. So there are some things that you want to watch out for. And in this, congratulations on getting the contract. I applaud you. And fall forward. Remember that there is a cost to the seller for everything that you have to do that they should have done. So if you figure the as-is value of a property is $60,000 and you have 2 months of holding at $700, you have $750 for filing, and you have another $750 for appearing. Then you have 14 and 15, so you have $2,900. You're going to subtract from the 60 grand to get your price. I'm sorry, you're going to multiply your 60 by what your markup needs to be, or your markdown needs to be, and then you're going to subtract your cost of this process. We always want to get paid for what we do, so you may want to add some value to your service, and your service is actually going through the process of hiring all these folks and stressing about it and worrying about it and relieving the seller of the stress and the worry. So there's value in it for them to have you do it, and you should collect on that value. So most of us don't do that. We go, well, I'm going to take care of it myself, or I'm going to do this or do that. In all cases, whether or not you're a professional home evictor, so tenant evictor or not, you should never hire yourself to do something. Now, you may choose to do it. I think that would be foolish, but you should never figure on that I don't have to charge for it because I'm going to do it myself. Just like if you're going to paint a house, just because you can paint a wall doesn't mean you shouldn't figure the cost of what it would cost you to hire that wall painted as a subtraction against the price of the property. So always be paying yourself for what you do. Great question. I appreciate the opportunity to answer it. Hopefully I did. There's some hidden stuff there, so re-listen to this if you want to get the full value there. And until next time, talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.